TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Hey, I guess it's afternoon. I was going to say good morning, but hey, good afternoon. My name is Scott Webb, and welcome to In the Batter's Box for a Saturday. I think yesterday we gave out 3 plays, and we were 2-1 on the plays yesterday. Trying to remember. Hey, Jay Barry. How you doing, brother? Welcome in Saturday. I had to have some coffee this morning. Got my old sloppy shirt on today. Not dressed up. It's like crazy. Running out of time on these days, man. Football started, so we got craziness happening today, and we'll talk a little bit of football today too. So there's a game that even just started right now. I think the Commanders with Jaden Daniels just started. So interesting times. For a guy like me, it's like running out of time to do all kinds of stuff. So anyway, it is what it is. Welcome in, and let's go with a couple of things. The first thing that I want to say is these baseball games. Holy cow, are they getting crazy? In the numbers, there's not a lot of value when I looked at the numbers today. Yesterday I thought there was a couple of good spots, but I'm trying to get you to see that we're going to have to probably gap the number a little bit. So in terms of what we're looking for and what the bets should be, because when you're looking at numbers and you try to control your betting prowess, right? I mean, you want to try to stay, everybody always says, oh, you got to stay under the 150, minus 150, and you plus 135-ish, somewhere in there, and you want to try to find all these bets in those parameters. Well, that doesn't mean that if you have a bet that's a minus 150 or minus 155 or minus 160, and your number says it should be 200, that's not value, because it certainly is. And what I've been seeing as of late is there's a lot of these books are trying to get you to make bets, and when it gets up there like that, there's not necessarily a lot of action on those numbers, so they get overlooked. So if it's supposed to be, say, minus 200 and they release the number at minus 160, that's great value. You should be looking at those, and you should be betting those. And I think that as we move along towards the end of the season, you'll hear a lot of those kind of conversations on this channel. We're gonna be making some of those kind of bets. Obviously, you don't want to lose those. Those are bets you don't want to lose, because they hurt a little bit when you lose. Of course, they don't hurt at all when you win. So that's the idea, right? The idea is to win these bets. And then I wanted, I'm not going to be playing the first Texas Yankee rained out game from yesterday, Evaldi and Rodon. I don't have anything on that one. When I looked it up, or I should say looked it up, when I processed that game, one of the things that I got here was, my number was Yankees minus 142, and it's like minus 152. So there's no EV positive play there, and there's a little bit of danger in the game, in a sense that, let me get this back over here. When you break down the pitchers, Evaldi's off a game score 33, so he's going to pitch pretty good. And Rodon's been good his last 3 or 4 starts. So if anything, I think there's going to be more of a pitching battle today in this game. And, the metrics are showing green, which means they're top 25% good. I think that you want to look at that and go, maybe, and because I think that the number was 8.5, still 8.5. Oh no, that's one game. I thought it was too low. It was 8.5. It's been bet to 9. Texas can't hit, and they don't hit left-handed pitchers. So you might want to look at that as an under maybe. But I don't. If you want to play, a baseball game early, because I think that you're going to run into some spots here where, the weather's really hot, the ball flies, and these teams are. Some of these teams can really do some damage. The Yankees can score a lot of runs real quick. Texas can too if they're hitting, but they just don't seem to be able to put things together. I think they're one of the most disappointing teams of the season because they're the World Series champs and they got a good offense. But boy, when you go look at their offense and see where it grades out compared to even an average offense, it's below average. And they're the World Series champs. So I was disappointed in that team. So anyway, I think that's kind of looking at the first game of the day that way a little bit. I'm going to spend just a minute on football, and then we'll get back to baseball because I think the baseball games in terms of time and strategy. You've got the Yankee game goes at 1:00. The Oakland A's and Toronto Blue Jays go at 3:00. So we got time here. Let's the football games. They're a little bit closer, right? Let's see football. You have Buffalo and Chicago goes at 1:00, and you have the Raiders and Green Bay. All these games go at 4:00. So we're going to hit a couple of these games first, and then we'll get back into baseball. So one of the things I wanted to stress yesterday, we talked a little bit about preseason, and I was on a game yesterday and I didn't do so well. I was on the Atlanta side, and they had to cover, so they had to cover 2.5. But one of the things I want to stress is just in terms of line value in these games, and it's just preseason games. It has nothing more to do with. It has nothing more to do with those types of things, but it's important. I'm trying to get the actual number. So lines that are 3 or under, you really want to be looking at the dog. And I know that sounds kind of silly when there's a 2.5 out there. And 3 is a key number, but and if it's 3.5 to say 7, you really want to be looking at the favorite, and the reason for this is so since 2015 underdogs at +1 to +3, +1 to +3, they're 162 and 110 against the spread. That's almost 60% just in that number. In 2023, they were 13 and 8. If you are a favorite in those spots at 3.5 to 7, you're 143 wins, 112 losses. So that's 56%. So you start kind of at where the numbers are. So these numbers again today have gone haywire and they've gone crazy. And they've gone crazy in a sense of, these betting syndicates are out here changing these numbers like mad. And like the game, the Washington game with the Jets, it was a pick 'em, and it went off at Washington -3. That doesn't happen on a regular game. It doesn't happen in regular preseason. Like if you look at a game like Kansas City and Jacksonville. That game opened 1.5. It's still 1. So there's not been a big release on that game. So what happens is these syndicates go out here and they have thousands of people that they give plays to, and when these people go make these bets, it all happens at the same time. Like right when they release them, they all go in there, and then the sports books go, "Holy shit, here we come! This money's coming in, all on one side, all in one thing. It was a release. We got to change the number." So they're moving the number 3 points. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to win, just because a betting syndicate said it was going to win. They're just like anybody else. They're going to lose their fair share of games. So. I'm not trying to tell you to follow the steam. I just want you to understand why the numbers are the way they are. It's not because, somebody's injured or somebody's hurt or because of certain thing. It's not that. It's these betting syndicates are doing those things. A betting syndicate's like Raz Sports, Right Angle Sports. That's a betting syndicate. If you want to sign up to bet to get their plays, you can. I mean, I think it's like almost $2,000, I think, for the year, and then they'll sign you up. It might even be more than that. I think that might even be a half a year. I think they're charging almost $1,000 for preseason games. But that's the idea, right? The idea is you pay that much, you don't want to lose. And I will tell you that when they release a play, the numbers move. There's other ones out there. I mean, there's Joey Tunes is part of one, and he's a guy on Twitter that, there's all kinds of them. I shouldn't say all kinds. There's 3 or 4 that really move numbers, and sometimes it's pretty interesting when one will release a number on one way, and then it'll get to a certain spot, then the other one will release a number against that number to get a buyback. It's just interesting sometimes when those things happen. So in lieu of what we were talking about just a little bit ago. The first preseason football game I'm going to tell you to bet is the Cleveland Browns today. Now the Browns they opened the game at -2.5. It actually made it to 6, and now it's down to 5.5. Now what's important, and it was a release play by the syndicate. The syndicate released the play when it was -3. So here's kind of the thing that you got to think about. So when these bets make it to certain numbers and they hit 6. So in this case, the Browns hit 6. It's not 6 anymore. So what happened? Well, the sharp sides bought it back. So they want the touchdown, right? They want you to have to lose by a touchdown. If you're 5.5, you can still cover with the 6, right? So, and it opened at 3. So the only other key number in between there is 4. So it went through the 4. It went through the 4.5. Now it's all the way up to 5.5. It hits 6, gets the buyback. That then says, hey, that's the cap. It's not going to go past 6. So if you want to bet it, you kind of wait until it hits 5.5. You don't want to bet it at 6, or you want to take the other side. So at 5.5, it's kind of the maximum kind of spot you want to take it. But I think it's a good play here with Cleveland. We're at a spot, and let me pull up my numbers here for this kind of spot. We already said, hey, if it's over 3, 3.5 to 7.5, you want to play the favorites, and we're in that spot. And now I want to go get the other part of this thing that makes this work. There we go. We're looking at a spot here where Cleveland, they really have a great quarterback rotation. And, I don't think we're going to see Deshaun Watson in this game. And if we do, we might see him for a series. But from what I understand, we're not seeing him. We're going to see a lot of Jameis Winston, Dorian Thomas Robinson, DTR, I guess they call him, and Tyler Huntley. And all of these guys are NFL veteran kind of players. All of them have mobility, and that's what you're looking for in these backup quarterbacks. You want guys that can run around. And you want them to run around because they might have to, because the offensive line makes mistakes and stuff happens, and so you like that format. And they're playing Green Bay, and Green Bay's got, Jordan Love. These guys are going to start. Jordan Love's going to start the game. But then you got Sean Clifford and Michael Pratt and Jacob Eason coming in, and they don't match up. So in the second, so from the second quarter basically on, Cleveland's going to have edges all in this game. And it's not like the starters are all playing the whole time, and you're not handicapping that. You're just looking at the other part of it. And then when you go down and you kind of look at it and go, Stefanski, he's 5-4, 5-3, and 1 against the spread in these games, and LaFleur's 5-8. So neither one of them have a big push to try to cover numbers, but Stefanski's probably got a little bit more of an edge. He's been involved in 9 of them and won 5, and LaFleur's been involved in 13 of them and won 5. So there's a little more effort there on the Brown side. I agree with the line move. I agree with the syndicate here that moved the number, and I think at 5.5 you're still okay. So I like that play, and the other one kind of goes against what I just said a minute ago about these numbers. I bet the Buffalo Bills today at -2.5, and this is one of those spots where Sean McDermott, the head coach for Buffalo, likes to win these games. He's played 22 of these games, 23 of these games, and against the spread, he's won 15 times. He's 15-8 against the spread, and that matters. And they've already announced that they're playing their starters, the whole first quarter, and that means Josh Allen's out on the field. So, and the Bears, they're going to play their starters. They're going to match up the length of time that the Bills run their starters out there. So you're going to see Caleb Williams. Okay, great. You see Caleb Williams. He's not Josh Allen. So I like the idea that you got an advantage there. And then when you take Josh Allen out of the game, you're going to have Mitchell Trubisky and Shane Buechele. Mitchell Trubisky is a former starter in this league for a couple of years. You want him to be in the game, and he's going to match up against guys like, and you saw him last week, guys like Tyson Bagent and Brett Rippon. So again, you have a spot here where Buffalo is going to have advantages at the quarterback. So I like what we're seeing. The other part of it is, in camp for Buffalo, they've got a big wide receiver group, and they're trying to figure out what wide receivers they want to keep. So there's going to be a lot of wide receiver play. Now, my understanding is the weather's a little bit not conducive to throwing, but it's not as bad as anticipated. So maybe they'll get it. Maybe they'll get a good look at it. So I think you're going to see a lot of balls in the air. It was supposed to have wind gust at like 20 miles an hour, but I think that subsided a little bit. So we'll see what that really plays out. But those are the two plays that I have for football is Buffalo and Cleveland today, both favorites. I'm watching one of these numbers and the game that I'm kind of watching for, because I wanted to see where it goes and kind of how it all plays out. Like the Raiders played the Vikings in a real game last year, and it was 0-0 until like the last few seconds of the game, and a field goal changed it, and it was 3-0. And now you have Minnesota opening as a favorite at home, and now it's flipped over to the Raiders side. And I'm trying to figure that one out. I haven't figured that one out. So I'm not really planning on playing it, but it's at 3, juiced kind of to the over. But if it starts to get to 3.5, 4, those are going through the key numbers, guys. And when they go through the key numbers, you want to ride those. So I'm kind of waiting to see what happens there. That game kicks off at 4. So if that gets bet up to say 3.5, I might jump in there. Might get up to bet 4. I might bet that game. The one that's kind of out there too is that Tennessee game. Tennessee opened at 3. It's bet up to 5.5, and it's at 6 in some places. So remember, I just bet a game at Cleveland that was same concept. It got from 5.5 to 6, and then there's buyback. So we'll see if there's buyback that happens on that Tennessee game, and Cincinnati's all the way up to 6. I don't want to get crazy on these games, and I don't bet a lot of money unless there's a good spot. And so far, I haven't really found that great spot to kind of go and say, "Hey, this is great. Let's go play it." So anyway, those are the 2 bets that I made, and we'll kind of look at it from that perspective. Now, in terms of baseball, man, I got to tell you, there's 1 game extra today, so there's 16 games. In the 16 baseball games, when I was looking at my I got to pull up my numbers. When I'm looking at my numbers and switch it over to here, there's a teeny bit of value on Oakland. Now, we talked about that game yesterday as kind of that, and we said you have had risk averseness, and what I mean by that is 2 things. One, they're EV positive bets. So if you make them 1,000 times, you should come out ahead. But there's risk involved. And what I didn't talk about yesterday is the principle of when you're betting on a team, Oakland or Toronto, neither one of them are any good. They're both, going to win 70 games or whatever it is, and they're going to lose close to 90, right? So when you're betting on bad baseball teams, you got to remember they're bad. So can they win? Sure, but they don't win consistently. So the play is erratic. So like yesterday, Oakland or Toronto hit a home run or whatever, and they got ahead like 3-0. And Oakland just decided they weren't going to hit against Barrios, who's a guy that they could hit. And now they rank 30th in Major League Baseball in hitting for this, last 7 days. So no matter what your numbers come out with or what your scenarios are, you can't bet on Oakland. Now watch, they'll go out and win today. So you follow where I'm going with this is there's inconsistency in bad teams. I talked about it. The Angels yesterday being a good spot, and it was. And they'd had the lead the whole time that their starting pitcher, Soriano, was in the game. They came out, they lose the game. And that's what happens when you have bad teams, So and they're not playing a good team, they're playing Washington. They're even teams. So the risk averseness part of it that I didn't mention yesterday is that bad teams are not consistent enough to get the quality of play to really make big bets. If you want to make an average size bet or a half a unit size bet, or you want to take beer and pizza money, as long as it's an EV positive bet, do it. But if you're going to go and step out and make some bigger bets, you don't ever want to do it on teams like that. One of my rules in gambling, and it's kind of the same thing in life. Don't ever ask someone or a team to do something they've never done before. So if they're an inconsistent team or they haven't won, like the White Sox there for a little while, they lost 20 games in a row, whatever it was, 21. If they don't win, don't ask them to win, right? Because you're just asking for trouble. You're just hoping something's going to happen, and you're going to be the guy that's the hero that bets them when they win the game. So the main overruling guide is don't ask a team to do something they don't do. Don't ask a pitcher to do something he doesn't do. Don't ask hitters to do things they don't do. Understand what they do, and then based on what they do, fit that model into bets that you can make. That makes sense, right? So that's kind of football teams, same kind of idea, right? if you got a football team that say travels to Notre Dame and they go over there and they get blown out every time, don't expect them to travel to Notre Dame and go beat them, because it doesn't happen. So theoretically, just go through that idea and go, am I asking this player or am I asking this team to do something that's very uncommon for them? Am I asking them to do something that they don't do? And if you are, then you got to stop. You can't do that. You're never going to be a successful bettor when you're asking teams and players to do things they don't do. So that's where that inconsistency piece comes in and all that stuff. So when I started looking at these games, it comes all the way down to San Diego and Miami. And, I was on San Diego yesterday. And if you're on San Diego today, you got to pay a premium. I think San Diego is like minus 180 or something like that today. And I'm not going to get that high. My number on the game, I think, was minus it's minus, like, it's more than 200. But I don't want to pay minus 180 on the road. You've got Waldron. So it's an EV positive bet. But you've got Waldron. I'm going to go back over here. You got Waldron today. Waldron is there it is. Circa minus 187, bookmaker 186. Those are your two books that make the numbers. So everything else kind of works off of them. So at 187, that's a pretty good price. And if you're over 200, you still have value there. But Munoz is the pitcher for Miami. Now, Munoz, when it comes to how I project pitchers and make numbers and adjust the lines, I use adjusted WAR numbers and in Steamer, and I use Zips, and I combine the two and get an average between them. He's the worst pitcher in baseball. He's a minus 1.5. That's going to adjust a number in a big way. I mean, if the pitcher on the other side's a plus 2.5, and 0 means that pitcher's 2.5 times better than an average pitcher, and this guy's minus 1.5, that means this pitcher's 4.5 times worse than an average pitcher, or worse than this pitcher. So my only thoughts here with this game is, I expect Munoz to lose. I expect the Padres to win, but I haven't been real happy with the way the Padres have won the last 3 games. So I don't want to go spend a minus 180 on this bet. And the reason is because they've been losing the last 3 games. They've won all 3 of them. And they've had to come from behind, and then they win in extra innings, and they pull miracles out of their and actually win the games. And then when I looked at offensively, I flipped this over to my offense. Offensively, they're doing fine. I mean, the Padres are offensive WAR ranked second. They're 9th in isolated power, so they're top 10 in doing the damaging blows. Merrill, Profar, and Machado are doing fine. So they're scoring 6 runs a game, 6.8. So all of that is really good. It's just they do it in such segments and spurts that if the other team happens to have a good day, I don't know that they can overcome that. So we'll see. I'm not saying that Miami's going to win this game, because Miami's got their own problems. Miami's, at least it's not a left-handed pitcher going for the Padres. Miami's 9-30 something against left-handed pitchers. But I was going to hit you with Munoz's 5.36 xFIP, 5.16 SIERA, and 6.29 FIP. So he's in the top 25% worst of all of Major League Baseball. He's terrible. His walk rate is almost 4, and his home run rate is 2 per game. That's not good. His ground ball rate is low. His hard hit rate's the highest on the board today. And of all the mistakes the pitchers make, he makes the most. It's just terrible. So you would think that this would be a good spot. But what I was looking at was Waldron over his last 30. So Waldron's a guy that gets real hot. And when he's real hot, you want to ride him. And when he's kind of cooling off, you got to be careful because he's a knuckleballer. And a lot of times Higashioka catches for him. And he got pass ball after pass ball after pass ball. You can't catch him. And they create some problems and dynamics with flow and consistency on the mound. He's at minus 33 today, minus 0.33 in WPA. So he makes mistakes too. Now, he's in the top 25% on making mistakes, but at the same time, I tell you that it's not as exaggerated as where Munoz is. But does it really matter? If you're in the top 25%, you're terrible. So I looked at this and I said, well, metric wise, he's in an average category and he's making mistakes. I don't want to give Miami a chance, right? If I'm gonna be at minus 180 something, look, man, I want a 7-0 game, and that might happen. But I think this could be a little more competitive than that. So I stayed off of this. But there is value on that side in that spot. So one of the games that I think that you can look at that has value but is a little bit tight. It's, the Minnesota Twins are playing again today against the Cleveland Guardians. If they win this game, they're a half game behind. And you got Williams on the mound for Cleveland against Woods Richardson today for the Twins. Now, most people don't know who Woods Richardson is. Simeon Woods Richardson. It's his first kind of big league experience that he's had. But what's interesting with him is that if you go and say, where is he? There he is. So he's made 19 starts. They've won 13 times in his 19 starts. So he's going to win most of his starts. Williams has only made 7 starts. He's only won twice. And there's reasons for that. He makes mistakes. Now, Williams will throw 97 miles an hour. Woods Richardson won't. He's going to go out there and throw 93 miles an hour. But what you're going to see is that Cleveland has 2 guys hitting right now. Obviously, they need Jose Ramirez to hit, and he's one of the guys that is hitting. Jimenez, the second baseman, is hitting, but he's batting like 8th or 7th or 8th now in the lineup. So they got a big gap between the hitters. So they're not getting a lot of good performance from their offense. In fact, if you go look at their offense, Cleveland right now is 27th in offense and 23rd in isolated power. They're 23% worse than an average offense. They got 2 guys hitting, which I said was Ramirez and Jimenez. They got 5 that aren't. 5 guys that are minus 1 WAR or beyond that are pulling them away. So it's a good time to be betting against Cleveland. And ideally, Cleveland has to have these great pitchers to compete. Well, they've run out of these great pitchers. Bybee hasn't pitched for a little while. He's going to pitch, I think, tomorrow. Coming back from the disabled list. Williams is back from the disabled list, but he's not been super good. So my number on this game, when I look at it, there we go, Cleveland. I have Minnesota as a pretty big favorite, minus 160. Now the reason for that is because we talked about it yesterday. Cleveland has been base runs related the most advantaged team in baseball. So base runs, we'll just hit it again because I make a statement and I want to make sure everybody knows what I'm talking about. So what is base runs? Base runs is a formula that adjusts wins and losses for teams, kind of like a Pythagorean theorem. Pythagorean theorem does it based off of runs scored and runs allowed, and what that variance looks like. And then based on that variance, this is how many wins you're supposed to have. And then compares to how many wins you do have, right? So you're either underperforming or overperforming based on your runs that you're scoring. Well, base runs takes that kind of one step farther. And it says, how did you score your runs? What does the sequencing look like? So yesterday I gave an example of 7 events. And I think it gives you a good illustration of how it works. So Team A has 7 events that happen. Team B has the exact same 7 events. But in the order of those events, it makes a big difference. So Team A, they get a walk, and then a walk, and then a walk. So those 3 events. So they got 3 guys on base, a walk, a walk, a walk. The next event is a home run. And then the next 3 events are strikeouts. Strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. So they get 4 runs on those 7 events. Team B, on the other side, they come up and they hit a home run. Okay, great. They got a run. And then they get walk, 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 strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. They get 1 run. All exactly the same 7 events, but the sequencing of those events created 4 runs for one team and 1 for the other. And that's what Cleveland has done all season long. I call them death by paper cut. They have been great at getting the right hit at the right time and moving runners around and doing things and being able to take advantage and then hitting a home run or something and having a big inning. Well, guess what's happening? They're not hitting. So that stuff's catching up to them. And when I power rank them and make a line with them, I use base runs and adjust those numbers out. So where a lot of people are going, this is a 90-win team, I don't see them that way. I see them as an 80-win team, and I see Minnesota as a 90-win team. So if Minnesota's a 90-win team and Cleveland's an 80-win team, there's a gap there, and that's a pretty good-sized gap. And then when you have these 2 pitchers, and they could be even, and you're still going to have a better team in Minnesota. So my number is going to give them an expressed advantage, and then the pitcher winning the amount of games that he's won, and Williams pitching 7 games, only winning twice, I think you got a bigger edge there. So the number's only 115. I think that's a good spot. I think you can play that, and I think that should be play number 1 for us today is Minnesota, Woods Richardson minus 115. Now, the only concern that I would have in the game is that this is sort of a big series. It's not sort of big. It's a big series for Minnesota, and it's a big series for Cleveland because they're crashing and burning. It's a big series in a sense that if Minnesota can sweep the series, they're in first place. They've caught them and passed them, and then we'll see kind of where it goes from there. So I think there's going to be a lot of dogfight, right? They're going to fight hard to win these games, and Cleveland will fight hard too. So we'll see which pitchers have that dogged determination to just flat out not give in. And I don't know these guys well enough. I'm not sold on Woods Richardson as being the big bulldog kind of guy that's not going to, to do that. Like Jack Flaherty's that kind of guy. Jack Flaherty's the guy that's going to go out there. He won't give in. He won't, and he's going to pitch tough. And he's not going to let you. You're going to have to beat him. Now, he might not have his good stuff, and you might be able to beat him, but he's going to make you do that. Where some of these guys go out there and they can't do it, which is what I'm going to get to in the next game. Phillies play the Arizona Diamondbacks. And I'm a big proponent of betting on these hot teams. And my God, you almost can't get much hotter than the Phillies. Or not the Phillies, the Diamondbacks. They're 15-5 or 16-4 in the last 20 games. You shouldn't be betting against betting against them, but I'm going to here. The Phillies are throwing Aaron Nola. And it's going to be Gallen against Nola. Now, last year and the year before, Gallen started coming into his own. And he was an ace and pitched like an ace. Game scores in the 60s, doing really well. He's not found that groove this year. He's not in that elite status ace type spot. In fact, Brandon Fad is the best pitcher on their team, and Merrill Kelly, I think, is coming back tomorrow, and they just got Eduardo Rodriguez back. This team's going to be able to pitch. This team's going to be able to do some stuff, and they're going to need Gallen to kind of do stuff. But they can start matching him up against other teams unless he can get his stuff together. It also used to be one of these things where you never wanted to bet against Gallen at home. He might make 32 starts in a season and say 16 of them are at home, and he might have a 1 or a 1.5 earned run average, something like that. He's been really good at home, not this year. So when I look at him and I pull up these numbers for this game, situationally, where are they there? Gallen in his last 28 days, he's a 112. So he's 12% worse than an average pitcher. And at home, he's a 91 SOPS plus. Okay, SOPS plus 91 means he's 9% better at controlling an average the opponent's offense. So that's kind of right around average. Whereas these guys that are good at home, they're a 50 or a 40, right? They're 60%, 50% better than an average pitcher at controlling these guys, doing that. And so he's not got that same edge that he used to have. The only thing that I will say is Nola's been a little bit not so good in his last 28 days. But over the season, Nola's a 90. So he's 10% better than an average pitcher. He's better than Gallen when it comes to that. He's made 23 starts for the Phillies. He's won 15. So he's 15-8. He wins two out of every 3 times. And he's lost the last couple. So I think he's in a good spot here for a progression spot, a good rebound spot for him. And when I pull this up this way, starting pitchers, there you go. He's a game score 56 for the season. So Nola's not an ace. But what he is he's a tough out. You got to beat him. His like even in his kind of downtime that he's kind of going through, he is 3.81 xFIP, 4.06 Sierra, and Gallen's a 4.54 and a 4.81. 4.81 is the worst 25% in all of baseball. So when you start to think about it, he's got almost pretty close to a full run advantage for Nola. And then you start to swing it out and you kind of look at it further. Gallen's not striking anybody out anymore. He's got less than 7 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's this close. I mean, like right on the edge of being in the worst 25% of baseball. So we'll just say he's in the worst 30% of baseball because that's kind of where he's at. Nola, on the other hand, is 8.5, which is normal. Nola's at 2.83 in walks. Well, Gallen's putting guys on base. He doesn't strike them out, and now he's putting guys on base. 4.23 per 9 innings. The only thing he's doing really well right now is he's not giving up a lot of home runs. His home run rate's pretty good. But his ex-WOBA number, so his expected WOBA is 403. 403 is the third worst today. That's not very good when you're in that spot. His whip rate, 1.59. So, we said you didn't want to be around 1. You don't want to be over 1.5, and he's 1.6. So he makes a lot of mistakes too. He's minus 0.38. So when you start to think about what's happening in this game, Nola can match up. He's a good pitcher. He wins a lot. And the other part of that is he's an underdog. Now he's my minimal underdog, but he's an underdog. And if you go and look at records and performance and where these teams are and where they project out to be, the Phillies are the best team in the National League. So I'm going to take the Phillies as the best team in the National League with a Bulldog pitcher against where I think you have a Gallen who he doesn't quite have that bulldog mentality, right? He just doesn't quite have it. It takes a special breed to be those guys that are like Roger Clemens and they just don't give in. The Garrett Coles of the world that they just are the next level. Well, you either have it in you or you don't. And I've watched him pitch. I see him mope around and do different things. And the reality becomes is I think that obviously the Philly lineup is really good. The Diamondbacks are pretty hot, but there's not one player that's playing in that game that's hotter than Schwarber. Schwarber's the hottest player, even though the offense for Arizona. Let me pull this up. Where is it? There it is. So Arizona is fourth in offense. They're second in isolated power. Well, guess what? The Phillies are eighth in offense and seventh in isolated power. Schwarber. All right, so let's lay it out this way. So there's two guys hitting above 2 WAR, offensive WAR, for the Phillies, and there's two guys that are hitting above offensive WAR now for Arizona. When I tell you who they are, you tell me who you want. So Arizona, it's Jock Peterson at 3.7 WAR, and Perdomo, the shortstop, 2.8 WAR. Okay, two good players. But it's not Marte. It's not the big boys, right? Walker's not even playing for them right now. So then you go to the Philly side and you go, okay, so what do you got? Schwarber, 9.0 offensive WAR. Nobody in baseball's got a higher number than him. He's the hottest hitter in baseball. And that beats Guerrero Jr., by the way. Junior Guerrero is 6.1. And then Bryce Harper, 3.10. So would you rather have your offense being driven by Schwarber Harper, or would you rather have it be Peterson Perdomo? Give me the Phillies. The Phillies have 6 guys over 1 WAR hitting right now, and Arizona has 4. So they've got more guys hitting. The difference, though, is that the Phillies have 4 guys kind of pulling away from their offense, and Arizona has 2. So they're pretty good, evenly matched spots. But I think that this is a good spot where you can go and take a competitive game. I think you can find a spot. I think that Phillies should be favored. My number in this game, by the way, is maybe I already said it. But it's I have Phillies minus 130, 136. And you can get them at plus money. It's an EV positive bet. You take it and you run with it, right? So I like that play. And one of these other ones that's play number 2, right? So baseball. So we'll do one more and then we'll call it a day and hope these football plays and baseball plays come in today and do some well. So one of the things that I don't know how long it's been, but I talked about this probably 3 months ago. You could see the White Sox were bad. Well, they have a pitcher today, Chris Flexen, who's actually doing the best that he's done in probably 5 years. His data, his numbers, his actual performance pitching wise is really about the best he's done in 5 years. But having said that, they are I pull them up situationally here. He's made 22 starts. He's won twice, 2-20. So what are you going to ask him to do? Win a game? Nope. We're not going to ask him to win a game. We're going to go ask the Cubs to beat him up. And this is one of those spots where we're going to go take the run line, because he's in a spot where if you look at his data and his numbers, Chris Flexen is 153 SOPS plus. He's 53% worse than an average pitcher. And on the board today, there's nobody worse than him. Nobody. So when we can attack the worst pitcher in baseball, that's what we're going to do. But to make a run line play work, two things have to happen. Number one, you have to be able to attack that pitcher and score runs offensively. Well, we just kind of looked at this and said, hey, we got an opportunity here where this pitcher is not very good, and we're going to be able to hit him. But our pitcher needs to be able to control the other offense. Well, this is Steele's pitching for the Cubs, and when you go back and you look at his numbers right now, he's kind of got average metrics, but where things sort of flip is his ex-WOBA. So what he's expected to give up based off of his performance pitching right now is a 271. That's best 25% in all of baseball. Your WOBA numbers are going to be a little higher than a batting average. At 271, that's really good. And then when you kind of swing it out a little bit more, his hard hit rate is 16%. A lot of soft contact. He doesn't make mistakes. And that's the issue with Chris Flexen. Chris Flexen gives up batting average. He's got two guys on base every inning. He doesn't strike anybody out, so balls are going to be in play. There's no fear here that they're not going to hit the ball. So they're going to hit. And then the question then becomes is, can Steele do his thing? Well, looks like he can. And he's going to where's the spot here situationally offense. So then you go look at it. The Cubs are 7th in offense right now, 6th in isolated power, and the White Sox are 25th in offense, which they're always down there. They're always bad. It's not that they're good offensively at all. And then when you kind of look at it from a different level, the White Sox are minus 20% against left-handed pitchers to a normal regular offense. They've played 22 left-handed pitchers, only won 7 times. Now, I get it. They don't win a lot anyway. But 7-15 is not very good. The last 20 games, they've won once. Flexen's pitched a few times against the Cubs in the past, not necessarily recently, though. So it's kind of, he's pitched 17 innings, gave up 27 hits. His game score average against that team is 39. That's not very good when you think about what his performance looks like. And where is he? So Flexen's game score for the season is a 41. That's actually pretty good for him. And for the last 7 games, it's a 37. So I think this is a good spot for the Cubs. I think the Cubs played a one-run game yesterday. I don't expect it to be a one-run game today. I think you play the run and a half. I know it's 150, 155, something like that. But I think it's good. Matt says, hey, Scott, do you see any value today on the Royals? Good question. Thanks for the question. I appreciate it. Good game to talk about. It's a rivalry game, and Michael Wacha is going through something. So his projected WAR is like 2.2, 2.3, something like that. Palante, who he's facing, is like a 1.2, 1.4, something like that. So he's twice the pitcher. Well, not quite, but almost twice the pitcher that's Palante is. Here's the problem. When you swing this out, Wacha is yellow. So that cautions me on my code on my thing. It says 4.85, 4.96 xFIP Sierra number. His FIP is 505. That's the worst 25% of all of baseball. I don't want to bet on teams with that I got to ask my pitcher to do something they're not doing, right? So he's not doing good. He's not striking anybody out right now. 5.46 strikeouts per 9 innings. Balls are going to get put in play. So if balls are put in play, and I switch this over because I already know kind of the answer to this, the St. Louis Cardinals are average offense. They're 14th in baseball right now, 15th in isolated power. But situationally, against right-handed pitchers, They are 4% better than an average offense, which is actually pretty good when they stack them up on right-handed pitchers. They're 41 and 41 is kind of average, but they're good against righties because when you compare that same number when they bat against lefties, they're in the bottom. They're like 18th or 19th or 20th in baseball against left-handed pitching. So they like right-handers. And you got Walker on the mound. He's a 106 SOPS plus, which means he's 6% worse than an average offense. And Palante is a 74, so 26% better than an average offense. So that tends for me to go and say, well, the Royals on offense are going to have to overcome a lot of stuff. First of all, there should be runs for St. Louis, and you are going to face a pitcher that's 26% better than an average pitcher. And offensively for the Royals right now, they're 22nd in offensive WAR. Where they're doing really good is isolated power. They're 12th. So that's a big jump. Go from 22 to 12. You go from, in almost just outside the top 10 to being just outside the worst in baseball. So I like the idea that, if that pitcher gives up home runs, then, they might have a spot. But when you pull him up and you look at him, his home run rate, 0.41, top 25% of all baseball. It's because he's a ground ball guy. 65% of the balls hit are ground balls, and that's one of the highest in baseball. So I think that this is not a good spot for the Royals today. We looked at that yesterday and we hit him on the over. This would be one of those pitchers that is an over pitcher, but the other side is an under pitcher. And he had a bad start the last time out, right? Palante, he had a game score of 40, and he's a game score of 52 for the season, so just a little better than average. Well, Walker's a 53, a little better than average. They're about the same guy, about the same pitcher out there. But as it's kind of going through cycles and through the season where they are currently, I would say Palante is actually a better pitcher currently than what Walker is. And I like Michael Walker. I like to bet on Michael Walker because I think people forget about how good he is. And there's spots for him, but I don't think this is the right one. So hopefully, Matt, that helps. I say these things all the time when people ask me some of these questions, and all of a sudden, Michael Walker wakes up and goes out and has a great day, and the Royals go on and win 7-1. So hopefully, the way I'm looking at it makes sense to you and what I'm seeing, and hopefully I'm not talking you out of something that actually comes in. But at the same time, that's how I see it. So anyway, I like it. So anyway, I think we gave out 3 plays today, right? We did Chicago Cubs -1.5. We did Phillies on a plus 104, 105, whatever the number is. And I think we did Minnesota Twins at -115. And I think we did 2 football games. So anyway, that's it for me for a Saturday. I will be back again tomorrow, Sunday. Hopefully we have a much better slate of games to dive into and create some more value. Because look, I can take these games deeper, and we can go into team totals, and we can go into overs and unders and totals and all that stuff. But I was looking at that stuff. I just don't really see a lot of value in today's board. So I think there's spots you can talk about, spots you can go with. I think there's a spot where the Oakland A's team total is 3.5, and the number is -135. Well, that's pretty reasonable. And when I looked at my score in the game, I have Oakland scoring almost 7 runs, and I'm like, well, why in the hell don't you do this? Well, you got to go look at where they at right now offensively. Offensively for Oakland is scoring 2 runs a game. They are dead last in baseball. So here I am. I'm going to ask them to do something they're not doing. So I didn't bet it. But that's the kind of stuff that happens, right? When you get out here and you start looking at stuff and it's real easy to go and say, I need to find value. And then you try to create it for yourself. And then you start seeing stuff that's not there. So it's very difficult sometimes to stay objective at what you're viewing. And I think that's an important subject to try to uphold is don't make something happen that's not there. And I'm telling you, it took me a long time, and I still do it from time to time. I look at so much stuff, and I try to put the picture together and put the puzzle pieces fit exactly right. Sometimes if I force a piece in there, and I'm like, oh, it looks pretty good, the picture's right, and it's not, and then I lose a bet because of it. So you just have to be real careful as to what you look at and what you deem as the right, I guess, outlook to the story, right? The story has to make sense. So if you're reading the chapter and the chapter starts to veer off and it's meandering along, then there's a problem. Just get rid of that and come up with something new and make it work from there. So tomorrow's Sunday. I'm hoping that we have a better stretch of these games tomorrow. There's football games tomorrow too. I don't know if we'll be on any of those, but and then noontime tomorrow, 12 o'clock, 12:15 is somewhere in there. And guys, we got 130 people on the show today, so it's great. We are gaining traction. Please help us help the channel grow. Likes, retweets, subscription bells, all that stuff. I say this every day, and I think there's to be honest, I think there's like 3 guys out there retweeting and liking and doing stuff. So guys, there's 130 of you. 130. I'm challenging all of you. Start helping the channel out, right? And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Matt says, thanks for the information. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being part of the show. But the goal is to keep driving and growing the channel. I get it. You can tune into these things and listen and pick out what you want and then go away and do whatever, right? Go on about your way. That's not how this works for people like me. It's not how it works for people that put in their time. I've spent an hour on this channel today and usually do at least an hour every day that I'm on here. So the channel's growing because people like what we're talking about and things we do and stuff we say. Help the channel, right? Reciprocate. Let this thing grow. I'm not asking you for money. If you want to give me money, you can. I have a website you can go to and sign up and be a client. It's $100. It doesn't cost you that much for a whole year. So it's not like I'm ripping you off. But what I am trying to get you to do is retweet, share the show, get the show to as many people as you can, because all the people that you 130 people follow, I don't. So get it out there, right? Get it out there. Get the names going. Get the stuff happening. Let's get this thing up to, 500, 600 people watching this show so we can get some good sponsorship in here and we can really make this, a big production. When you can get a sponsor that's going to pay, a couple $1,000s a month or 2 or 3 of them, that's an income. And then that's an income I can have a producer in here and pay that person to do all this stuff, right? Because right now it's all me. That's the way it is. It's just all me. So anyway, guys, do me those favors. All 134 of you that are on the show today, start retweeting this stuff, like the stuff, hit the subscription bells, whatever those things are that those influencers say to do all of that stuff because it helps grow the channel. Go to my website if you want to and sign up for a free newsletter. It doesn't cost you nothing. We can do that too. Every time I put an article out, it'll go right to your email box. If you do want the data and the information that I provide, I give it to the clients that pay me. It's there every single morning. It costs you $100 because that's the whole year. Just go to my website. There's a link at the top that says membership, whatever. You click the button, then click another button, and then it asks you for $100. And then you'll also get all of that, but you'll get when I make my bet, I put it in there so people can see it. And if you follow along and you want to make bets I make, that's fine. If you like, oh, I don't like his bets, but I want to fade them, you can do that too. Whatever. But the point being is that all of that stuff's available. You can do anything you want to, and we can grow this channel. And we got some good conversation. Jay said hello today. We got Matt in there. Sometimes we get 3 or 4 or 5 people talking. It's great. And then we can kind of keep the engagement growing, keep the channel growing, and we go from there. So, guys, I will see you tomorrow. Again, I challenge you guys to get this stuff out, forward it, get these shows out, make comments, do all kinds of stuff, make this thing happen, and let's take it off. All right. Have a great Saturday, and I will see you guys tomorrow, 12 o'clock. Bye.